Lose 4 pounds this week quitting oats. Welcome to How to Destroy Stubborn Belly Fat in 3 Stages. Watch what happens inside your gut when your cells actually start burning that thick spare tire for all of your daily energy. But stomach weight refuses to leave. Your cells refusing energy is the exact reason why your midsection always stays completely soft. Therefore, you must learn the biological triggers that command your body to burn off the thickest layers of fat surrounding your internal organs. You feel totally hopeless constantly. Starving yourself just makes the underlying metabolic problem much worse over a long time. But biology dictates that your body will only burn the stomach layers after it finishes stripping away the extra weight from your arms entirely. This frustrates absolutely everyone every day. You want a flat stomach without giving up your favorite weekend meals entirely forever. Therefore, the secret lies in controlling the thermal heat inside your body so you naturally melt away those specific fat stores without noticing any hunger. But extreme diets usually backfire. Your survival instincts activate to defend that soft tissue against whatever daily restriction you attempt. Therefore, you must completely bypass those internal alarms using a scientific method that drops your physical frame down to an elite condition under the radar. Your confidence drops incredibly fast. Looking in the mirror reveals the exact same shape despite your intense daily gym efforts. But fixing this issue is entirely possible once you decode the hidden signals causing your stomach to hoard every single extra calorie you consume today. Most popular plans starve you. They demand you stop eating the delicious foods that make your normal life highly enjoyable. But your brain immediately senses this sudden lack of energy and floods your bloodstream with intense hunger signals that completely break your deepest mental willpower. Therefore, you always quit early. The bathroom scale might briefly drop before shooting right back up to the starting line. But that rapid rebound happens because extreme restriction forces your body into a panicked state where it actively eats away your highly valuable muscle tissue. Muscle burns your daily heat. Losing that tight muscle means how fast you burn heat drops off an absolute cliff. Therefore, eating a normal lunch suddenly causes massive weight gain because your newly damaged metabolism cannot handle the exact same food portions as before, ever. The cycle repeats endlessly forever. You blame yourself for lacking intense discipline when the actual flaw lives inside the method. But those popular routines completely ignore the hidden biological laws governing how humans actually process daily fuel during periods of intense physical or mental stress. Therefore, accurate knowledge becomes power. Understanding the specific phases of targeted fat removal will completely fix your broken physical state. But you must stop treating your stomach like an enemy and start feeding it the exact compounds required to unlock those deeply trapped lipid cells. This changes your shape completely. The real solution requires almost zero actual suffering or miserable boring hours on a treadmill. Therefore, replacing generic advice with a targeted biological framework guarantees you finally see those sharp abdominal muscles that currently hide entirely underneath the soft layers. Here is the exact framework. Your physical form literally transforms through a series of 3 highly distinct and predictable phases. But you cannot force your stubborn stomach to shrink until the soft fat covering your arms and your legs melts away into the surrounding air. Therefore, incredible patience saves you. The initial stage easily takes you right down to a very normal 15% fat. But breaking past that specific threshold triggers an aggressive biological resistance where your cells fight fiercely to protect their deeply stored energy reserves almost immediately. Therefore, total precision becomes mandatory. Pushing from 15% down to 12% constantly requires changing your primary daily fuel. But the final drop down to 10% represents the ultimate test of human discipline because your internal hunger alarms will constantly ring incredibly loudly. Therefore, your overall strategy matters. Treating these 3 highly unique stages exactly the same practically guarantees you will hit walls. But learning how to perfectly adjust your approach at each specific milestone ensures your progress never stalls out during the hardest weeks of the process. your waistline will absolutely shrink. The science constantly proves this sequence works perfectly for literally anyone who follows the rules. Therefore, you just need to execute the initial biological shift and let your natural digestive furnace handle the complicated chemical reactions completely behind the scenes. The primary starting step awaits. You must carefully decode the primary ingredient that kicks off this massive physical transformation immediately. But completely ignoring this foundational piece means nothing else you try will ever make a visible difference in how your clothes fit around your waist. Food volume dictates your weight. Creating a mild energy deficit constantly forces your body to consume its own tissue stores, but intensely starving yourself is totally unnecessary when you simply swap heavy snacks for massive plates of fresh foods that contain very little actual energy. Therefore, you eat much more. Filling your heavy stomach with bulky berries and crunchy carrots stretches your internal digestive walls, but a tiny handful of chocolate cookies packs the exact same energy load without ever turning off the hunger signals firing wildly inside your brain. Therefore, deep cravings quietly disappear. Your brain literally thinks you are feasting like an absolute king during every single meal, but the biological reality shows your total energy intake dropping dramatically because those bulky plants demand massive amounts of internal heat just to digest completely. Therefore, you automatically lose fat. Taking your exact weight in pounds and multiplying it by 12 creates the perfect target. But eating unprocessed items ensures you naturally stay under that limit without obsessively entering every single bite into a complicated tracking application on your phone. This feels incredibly easy. The initial phase basically relies entirely on making these massive volume upgrades to your plates. Therefore, your waistline shrinks rapidly while you continue eating huge portions that literally force you to push away from the dinner table feeling absolutely stuffed. The simple math never lies. Consuming slightly less fuel than your daily activities strictly require makes the stubborn stomach vanish. But casually lowering your fuel intake risks destroying the valuable lean tissue that actually gives your arms and chest their attractive shape and tone. Protein heavily protects your muscle. Eating drastically fewer calories always puts your highly active muscle tissue at a massive risk, but feeding your system pure amino acids acts like a heavy biological shield that absolutely prevents your metabolism from eating its own underlying structural foundation. Therefore, you stay incredibly strong. Laboratory studies totally prove that keeping your intake high forces the body to burn fat, but ignoring this simple dietary rule guarantees you will just become a smaller and softer version of your current self instead of getting actually lean. Therefore, eating meat matters greatly. You should aggressively consume about 1 gram for every single centimeter of your total height. But hitting this specific number feels remarkably simple when you build every single meal around a solid block of lean chicken or fresh egg whites. This literally changes your shape. The massive thermal effect of digesting protein naturally burns up a huge portion of calories. Therefore, swapping a heavy morning muffin for an egg scramble instantly fires up your digestive furnace and keeps you completely full until the late afternoon. Protein rapidly fixes the damage. Your internal cells quickly grab those building blocks to repair the tiny tears from workouts. But eating enough ensures your internal engine runs incredibly hot and actively burns away the thick layer hiding your abdominal muscles around the clock endlessly. Therefore, progress speeds up. Combining massive daily piles of fresh vegetables with heavy doses of protein makes loss automatic. But the initial phase eventually stops working as your shrinking physical frame begins burning fewer total calories during your everyday movements and regular daily routines. Your internal metabolism slows down. Dropping completely past 15% definitively requires you to start actively manipulating your other fuels. But your liver aggressively fights the process by dropping your daily energy expenditure to protect the soft tissue remaining heavily around your waist and organs. Therefore, macro tracking becomes vital. Dropping your total fat intake down to 20% frees up massive space for energy. But heavy cooking oils contain more than double the hidden calories of rice, meaning meaning a single spoon of dressing completely destroys your entire energy deficit. Therefore, healthy carbohydrates save you. Adding sweet potatoes and warm oats back into your lunches gives your muscles explosive power, but your brain desperately needs those fast sugars to maintain high performance in the gym so you can continue burning serious heat during heavy lifts. Therefore, intense fatigue stays away. Keeping dietary fats extremely low naturally forces the stubborn midsection to finally surrender its reserves. But this precise balance ensures your hormone levels remain completely stable while you drive your overall body composition directly down toward that elusive 12%. The exact strategy works beautifully. Your physical appearance sharpens very dramatically as the extra carbohydrates fill out your depleted muscles. Therefore, you suddenly look significantly larger and much tighter despite actually dropping several more pounds of pure fat from your lower waistline and your hips. Precision demands absolute strict focus. The mirror continuously reflects incredibly positive changes as long as your daily numbers stay perfect. But stepping outside your safe kitchen environment introduces a wildly dangerous set of unpredictable social variables that can instantly ruin your hard-earned physical progress. Social dining breeds danger. Reaching the elite 10% milestone requires an entirely new level of strict personal discipline. But restaurants secretly drown your healthy chicken and broccoli orders in cheap industrial oils that instantly skyrocket your daily energy intake without you ever knowing. Therefore, dining out totally stalls. Drinking alcohol acts as a massive metabolic brake that completely stops the fat-burning process. But liquid calories slip past your fullness sensors entirely and convince your liver to store everything else you eat directly into your soft stomach cells. Therefore, early planning is mandatory. You must review the restaurant menu beforehand and skip the heavy drinks at the bar. But making these tough social sacrifices feels intensely lonely when all your friends are eating greasy pizzas while you slowly chew a dry green salad. Therefore, fun weekends become tests. One incredibly wild Saturday night completely erases an entire week of perfect dietary mathematical precision. But understanding exactly how to navigate these tricky environments guarantees you never lose the incredible momentum you built during the highly controlled normal work week. Tiny small bites kill progress. Grabbing a handful of chips from the busy office kitchen triggers massive blood sugar spikes. Therefore, you must always treat your daily calorie allowance like a strict financial budget, where every single tiny transaction demands an exact and honest accounting. Your intense dedication pays off. Actively avoiding these hidden traps keeps your metabolic furnace burning white hot through the night. But the real proof of this intense methodology comes directly from watching normal human subjects completely transform their shapes under strict medical laboratory supervision testing. Medical science proves this works. A brilliant study took 20 normal adults and fed them entirely heavily processed junk meals. But the innocent participants gained 2 solid pounds in just 2 weeks because the fake foods hacked their brains and made them overeat continuously every day. Therefore, everything flipped incredibly fast. The researchers suddenly switched their plates to feature massive piles of natural and raw ingredients. But the hungry subjects were totally allowed to consume as much food as they physically wanted, without ever counting a single calorie during the trial. Therefore, pure magic happened naturally. Their daily intake plummeted by 500 calories automatically, without any conscious, forced mental effort. But they literally lost over 2 pounds of pure mass because the bulky natural fibers shut down their ravenous appetite signals almost completely overnight safely. The visible results remain undeniable. You succeed when you apply this exact same biological trick to your own eating schedule. Therefore, the deeply stubborn layers of soft tissue simply melt away into nothingness while you spend your days feeling completely satisfied and incredibly physically energetic. Your biological body loves volume. Witnessing completely normal people shed massive amounts of weight confirms the true power of nature. But understanding the data means absolutely nothing unless you actually know exactly how to organize these specific components into a daily schedule that tastes amazing. Therefore, immediate action creates change. You absolutely must translate these complicated medical papers into a clear routine for your kitchen. But carefully mapping out your upcoming week with precise ingredient choices removes removes all the frustrating guesswork and guarantees your waistline shrinks precisely on expected schedule. Here is the exact plan. Your daily morning must start with a massive bowl of hot oats and fresh berries. But mixing pure liquid egg whites into the boiling water creates a thick, creamy texture that packs an enormous hit of highly protective lean protein. Therefore, intense morning hunger vanishes. Your afternoon lunchtime plate requires a giant mountain of green spinach topped with grilled chicken. But you absolutely must avoid pouring heavy oil dressings over the leaves and instead squeeze fresh lemon juice to keep the total energy cost low. Therefore, your afternoon energy spikes. Dinner suddenly becomes a delicious feast featuring baked white fish beside warm roasted sweet potatoes. But filling exactly half the glass dish with steamed broccoli guarantees your stomach stretches to its maximum capacity while strictly protecting your vital caloric deficit. Late sweet night snacks rule. Eating fresh sweet strawberries right before bed completely satisfies your dangerous late-night sugar cravings. Therefore, your strong digestive system safely processes the light sugars while you sleep deeply without ever converting that midnight snack into fresh layers of fat. The daily execution feels flawless. Repeating this very simple biological rhythm makes dropping down to 15% completely automatic. But you must honestly ask yourself if pushing all the way to extreme single digits is actually worth sacrificing your overall mental, physical peace. Therefore, evaluate your deep desires. Being incredibly heavily shredded looks entirely amazing online, but feels extremely exhausting in normal reality. But maintaining a slightly softer shape allows you to enjoy weekend drinks with your best friends without constantly panicking about ruining your intense restrictive diet. Your final dietary review begins. You melt belly fat by eating massive bowls of fresh berries alongside chicken and broccoli. But you absolutely must strategically balance those warm sweet potatoes and fresh fish while strictly controlling hidden heavy oils to push past your biological plateaus. Therefore, daily consistency conquers all. Hitting your strict daily protein targets with pure egg whites protects your powerful muscle tissue. But keeping your large stomach completely full with crunchy carrots and fresh strawberries ensures you never actually feel like you were starving during the day. Therefore, you strictly must commit. Like this video immediately to physically signal your brain that you take health seriously. But you must immediately subscribe so you never lose this exact biological roadmap to achieving a much better, tighter body when you need it later. Therefore, deeply share this everywhere. Sending this important video to your closest friends literally makes you an actual hero today. But sharing this exact science might literally save someone you love from experiencing a painful future surgery or suffering through years of chronic joint inflammation. Your internal mindset dictates victory. Stop actively viewing daily food as a dangerous enemy and start using it as medicine. Therefore, you can effortlessly reshape your physical reality just by making smarter, specific choices at the grocery store without spending endless hours running on treadmills. Start the massive change today. The incredible power to transform completely rests directly in your own hands starting right now. Therefore, you must stop ignoring the biological facts and instantly apply these dietary shifts before your body permanently locks those dangerous fatty tissues into place. You absolutely hold the key. Lose 4 pounds fast by quitting those oats.